Hi, welcome to Self-Generated. My name is Steve. I am the host and creator of this web conversation series, podcast, whatever this is. And in case you missed it, there was an episode right prior to this where I went over a little bit of this particular series of exploring the idea of some humans seeming to act like non-playable characters from a video game. And just so you know, in case you don't want to go back to the other one, this is not just going to be a make fun of a particular group of people fest or exploring the history of the meme through 4chan or Reddit or politics or any of that stuff. We're going to be exploring what that might actually mean depending on an alternate view of human cognition, meaning active inference, embodied cognition, the extended mind. These are frameworks of consciousness and how things work, how mind and things work together. They're not 100% certain, but when you add them as a lens to how you see things work in life and you overlay it, it fundamentally changed my life for the better. Gave me a new understanding and appreciation for everything from emotions, my life, my family, being able to overcome alcoholism. Really, I was fundamentally be able to be the person I wanted to be. But I had to change how I saw the world, how I felt I needed to interact with it. And we're going to explore the idea of people that seem to be more like an NPC than a free-willed individual that we believe we are. Now, again, if you missed it in the last one, I kind of challenged the idea that we have free will. I'm not saying definitively that you don't have free will, that you're just an automaton or any of that nonsense. I'm just saying that all of those arguments we've had are kind of stupid because they never answer the fucking question. We're not just creatures without free will or with free will. We need to figure out what kind of will we have. But we never end up doing that because we end up just doing this argument again and again and again that never gets anywhere, which is kind of the definition of insanity per Einstein. But why is that? That's almost like people acting like NPCs, because people are acting like what they believe is true. And that's what I want to explore in this particular one, is that, again, we run into this behavior, but it's not new, and I address it kind of like bots. But we've had these hysterical projectionist type of people throughout time. And you might not have had it, but it does exist. And you can especially join the community, go online, join us on X or in the comment section. And if you had one of those experiences that was super surreal, that you were almost like, am I in the Truman Show? Share it. Because I've had a couple times where more than a couple times. I used to do retail for years, and including auto sales for almost 15 years of my life. And just, you run into people that you just go, how are you a functioning member of society? Right? Not only that, these people had houses and credit way better than me, and were driving way better cars. It made me lose my mind because I didn't understand why this one thing didn't seem to make sense versus what I believed reality was. And that's because I firmly believe that world worked in a certain way. And as we addressed earlier, that when you notice an NPC or you feel like somebody's acting like they're an NPC, you classify that. It's because they feel like you feel that they're not acting as a free agent, that they have free will, that they're almost not real, they're not genuine, they're not authentic, and that's one way of describing it. But the idea is, what is authenticity? Again, our will is not just this perfect free will. There's so much stuff that is implied and imbibed into our decisions and who we are. That's the embodied and the extended mind parts of what I talk about. Because we have a body, right? And you have a certain learned doingness of movement. I move my arms around when I talk. There's an old joke about I'll see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find it, but there's a reference on Reddit of an Italian guy trying to talk without moving his hands, and he can't. Try to tell a joke while sitting on your hands or without laughing. There's something to that embodied experience of life that is unique in part of cognition, more so than just there's something up here that's controlling me like a mech. And that the extended mind carries that over to that things like our technology and our outside world have an effect on our mindedness, on how we think. I'm not talking about spooky action at distance or magic or anything, but I'm saying we have a whole generation of people who don't know how to read maps. If GPS were to go down, navigation, the society would cease to function, because we have changed how we deal with navigation because of technology, how we think about it. We have changed how we deal with the world because of technology. If I were to smash your phone, most people would have a reaction as if I had hurt an animal or a pet or hit their hand, because that thing is an extension of you. You don't remember phone numbers, you remember how to access them. And that everything in the outside world, your environment, has an effect on your thinking, who you are, what you eat, how healthy you are. All of these things have an effect that we don't account for, and we don't notice until they go kaflooey, because we believe we are these free agents in control of our meat self. And that's not true. Our agency comes from our biology, through our biology, and a lot of other flavors of quantum and physics and things that we don't fully understand, but it's not magic. In fact, I believe magic, the understanding of magic, is part of active inference. And maybe you've heard the term before, I think it's Isaac Asimov, that a sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that I want to extend and paraphrase and steal that idea that anything significantly complex enough is indistinguishable from magic. So what does that mean? Like, if you don't understand how it's working, it's almost like it's just magically happening. Is that when we don't understand something's happening, we can see clearly there's purpose to it, we assume, we model that there's sentience, there's agency there. And we can't see it because we don't see the causal chain of events. We don't perceive and understand what's actually happening. And to feel comfortable with that idea, we assign it magic. Like when we see somebody who's not acting like a free agent, they're not acting like a player character like you and I, so we assign something to feel comfortable with them, NPC. Does that make sense? That the idea that these things, these experiences, that things that you're feeling are not some warning sign from anything. It's that, or they're not what you think they are. They're the signal from the error correction. What do I mean? That you model the world in a way, you believe something to be true, and this is proof that it's not. What do you do with that? Do you change your understanding of it? Or do you assign it a negative value so you don't have to worry about it? Oh, I don't worry about it. I turn the volume down on it. I turn it off. I don't engage with it. Does that sound like free will decision making? No. That's active inference. That's dealing with the error signal. And that's fundamentally what makes us us. And that's why when we see people who are acting like NPCs, believe it or not, the reason that they stand out is not because they are in fact acting kaflooey. They're operating as creatures of active inference. They're following the story that the society is telling them. They're doing the best job that they can. They are silencing their error signal because they see something that conflicts with their reality, and they need to prove that it's wrong. They need others to prove that it's wrong for them to silence that error signal. We, or people who experience that behavior as NPCs, think that they think in a different way. And because neither one of us understand each other, nothing ever fucking changes. Why? Because when we explore these ideas, have you been able to explore or find any type of exploration of free will that's out there, that's mainstream, that makes sense, that's easy to pick up, that's anything but, do you have it or do you not? What do you mean? Everything in the world is gray. We've lived like that for ages, but we don't act like that. Active inference explains black and white thinking as well. It's a biological imperative. You're saving energy, erring on the side of caution. It makes sense. But in this complex world that we live in, it doesn't work too good. Because a lot of those elementary instinctual responses are unnecessary. We don't need to act like it's a snake in the tree in an office setting, in your work setting. What we have those reactions to things because we don't identify that it's not as certain and real as it actually is. We think it's more of a threat. We'll act like it's more of a threat. It's NPC behavior. My words of whatever I put, especially if I don't put them as targeted. For example, I'm not, when it comes to politics, if I say I'm going to vote for Trump, I'm going to vote for Harris, but But don't worry about it. I'm going to write in Mickey Mouse. Why? Doesn't matter. What does my opinion matter? Only a few people would respond to that, but those people are what I'm talking about. That they need to counter that idea. That idea, if it's coming and it seems logical, it's a threat to their rational world. Why? Not because they're inferior or stupid, but because that's how they interpret their experience. No one has taught them anything different. And in fact, society has taught them otherwise. You should not be surprised by that behavior. That's a very different mentality and a very different way to look at people that we jokingly call NPCs, isn't it? And it's not about being compassionate because it'll get you in the sky cake at the end. It's not because all of us are made of the same particles in kumbaya. It's because of how we work. And if you step back with a cold logic to it, it makes sense and it helps build real life compassion and understanding. Because it's not, you don't get as angry at an NPC in the video game, right? The people who get angry at characters in video games, come the fuck on. They're there. I'm sure I'll find a reference and I'll put it here, but it's not a real thing, right? It'd be stupid. You rage against a storm because it has no sentience. There's nothing. What are you raging against? But we do that very freely with people because they chose to be stupid. No, they didn't. That's the problem. And that's why most people don't even want to hear what I have to say, because they have their own NPCs. They have their own NPC moments. And what do I mean by that? Is that they feel empowered by their enraged, their superiority of like, what are you talking about? They can't live in the real world. Maybe they're just one level above on the NPC totem. But it's a framework in which to look at real human behavior. And the funny thing is because artificial intelligence uses active inference, Bayesian math, being able to mathematically update your predictions and your models to interpret your world with new information. And that's what I'm talking about, how in some way that almost seems magic, but it's only because we don't understand exactly how it works. And it feels like it works with a purpose. Well, guess what? If you're a creature of active inference, that's how you experience it anyway. But this is what we try to explore. We're going to continue to explore the idea of NPC in the next episode, and human behavior, and how we react to it and try to communicate, and maybe other ways that we can try to communicate with people that we are feeling act like an NPC, or that maybe we can go out and look and see how prolific it is, so that we can try to figure out what we can do about ourselves to make sure that we don't fall into those traps. Because a lot of our world today, the world that you and I, no bullshit, fucking live in, is run by bots, online and in the real world. And what do I mean by that is people that are trapped in their story, unable to objectively look at it, not because they're stupid, not because of any inferiority, but because of the very nature of how they work. And to challenge that would feel like a threat. So if we're able to inform ourselves and then others the real nature of all these things, some people can be empowered. They don't have to live a story that wasn't written for them by them. Maybe you can write more of your own story. Self-generated podcast, self-gen podcast on X, hit me up.